Hello, future chemists. Welcome to an exciting journey through the world of chemistry. Today, we are diving into a fascinating property of atoms, electronegativity, a key concept in our chapter on classification of elements and periodicity in properties. We'll explore what it is, why it matters, and how it shapes the very bonds that hold molecules together. Get ready to embark on a four-level learning adventure, from easy fundamentals to the most challenging competitive insights. Ready to discover why some atoms are electron magnets? Let's start with the basics of electronegativity. Imagine two atoms sharing electrons in a bond. Electronegativity is simply the power of one atom to pull those shared electrons closer to itself. It's a relative concept, meaning we compare how strongly one atom attracts electrons versus another. Think of it like a tug-of-war for electrons within a chemical bond. For instance, in a hydrogen chloride bond, chlorine is more electronegative than hydrogen, so it pulls the shared electron pair closer, giving itself a slight negative charge and leaving hydrogen with a slight positive charge. This pulling power isn't an energy value, but a measure of its attraction within a bond. Now, how does this pulling power change across the periodic table? As you move from left to right across a period, atoms generally become more electronegative. Why? Because the nuclear charge increases and the atomic size decreases, making the nucleus more effective at attracting electrons. But, as you go down a group, electronegativity usually decreases. This is due to increasing atomic size and greater shielding by inner electrons, which weakens the nucleus's hold on the bonding electrons. Fluorine, in the top right, is the undisputed champion with the highest electronegativity, while elements like cesium at the bottom left have the lowest. Time to test your understanding. Here are 3 easy practice questions. Pause the video, try to answer them, and then check your solutions. These will help solidify your grasp on the basic definition, periodic trends, and factors influencing electronegativity. Good luck! Alright, let's deepen our understanding of electronegativity. We'll explore how scientists quantify this fascinating property. Electronegativity is more than just a concept, it's a critical tool for understanding how atoms interact. It helps us predict bond polarity, molecular shapes, and even chemical reactivity. Since it's not directly measurable, scientists like Linus Pauling and Robert Mulliken developed different scales to estimate it, based on other fundamental atomic properties or bond energies. Pauling's work, in particular, laid the foundation for much of our understanding of chemical bonds. The Pauling scale, the most common, uses bond dissociation energies. Pauling noticed that a polar A to B bond is often stronger than the average of nonpolar A to A and B to B bonds. This extra bond energy is linked to the electronegativity difference. He assigned fluorine an arbitrary value of 4.0 and calculated other elements' values relative to it. Then, we have the Mulliken scale, which is simpler and more direct. Mulliken defined electronegativity as the average of an atom's ionization enthalpy and electron gain enthalpy. This makes intuitive sense. A high I means it's hard to lose electrons, and a high EA means it readily gains them. Both contribute to electron attraction. Beyond basic periodic trends, several factors subtly influence electronegativity. Take hybridization. An sp hybridized carbon is more electronegative than sp2, which is more electronegative than sp3. Why? Because s orbitals are closer to the nucleus, so more s character means electrons are held more tightly. Also, an atom's oxidation state matters. A higher positive oxidation state means the nucleus has a stronger pull on electrons, increasing its electronegativity. These factors are crucial for understanding the nuances of chemical bonding and predicting a molecule's behavior. Now, let's challenge ourselves with 5 medium-level questions. These will require you to apply your knowledge of the Pauling and Mulliken scales as well as the advanced factors influencing electronegativity. Take your time, think critically, and work through each problem. This is a great opportunity to reinforce your learning. Ready to dive deeper? In this hard section, we'll explore the quantitative aspects and theoretical connections of electronegativity. While Pauling's scale is widely used, it's essential to understand its derivation. The formula involves the square root of the excess bond energy, the difference between the actual A to B bond energy and the geometric mean of the A to A and B to B bond energies. This excess energy arises from the partial ionic character in the polar bond. The Mulliken scale, on the other hand, is considered more absolute as it's derived from isolated atomic properties, the average of ionization enthalpy and electron gain enthalpy. It directly quantifies an atom's propensity to attract and hold electrons. Both scales provide valuable insights, complementing each other. Let's introduce another important scale, the Alred-Rocchow scale. This scale defines electronegativity based on the electrostatic force exerted by the nucleus on the valence electrons at the covalent radius. It's a more physical approach, calculating electronegativity from the effective nuclear charge and the covalent radius. This scale is particularly useful when experimental bond energy data isn't available. Understanding these different scales highlights that electronegativity isn't a single, fixed value but a concept that can be quantified in various ways, each offering a unique perspective on an atom's electron-attracting power. Beyond the fundamental scales, electronegativity is profoundly influenced by subtle factors. Orbital type is one such factor. An atom's electronegativity increases with the s character in its hybrid orbitals, as s orbitals are closer to the nucleus. This explains why sp hybridized carbon is more electronegative than sp3. Similarly, an atom in a higher positive oxidation state will be more electronegative because its nucleus exerts a stronger pull on electrons due to reduced electron-electron repulsion. These nuances are vital for predicting chemical properties like the acidity of oxides or the reactivity of various compounds. Even relativistic effects in heavy elements can alter expected trends, adding complexity to the picture. Now, it's time to tackle 7 challenging questions. These problems will test your detailed understanding of the different electronegativity scales, their derivations, and the advanced factors influencing electronegativity. Think critically, connect the concepts, and apply your knowledge to solve these complex scenarios. This is excellent preparation for GME. Welcome to the hardest level. Here, we'll explore electronegativity at a competitive depth, connecting it to advanced theories, materials science, and even biological systems. Electronegativity is far from a simple, static property. It's dynamic and context-dependent, influenced by the atom's environment, hybridization, and even the subtle relativistic effects in heavy elements. For instance, relativistic contraction of the 6s orbital makes gold significantly more electronegative than predicted by simple periodic trends, contributing to its unique color and chemical inertness. Understanding these complex interactions is crucial for predicting the behavior of elements, especially in advanced materials and high-level chemical reactions. This deeper insight moves us beyond basic definitions to a more sophisticated comprehension of atomic properties. Electronegativity profoundly impacts chemical reactivity. For example, it dictates the acidity and basicity of compounds. Highly electronegative atoms can make adjacent hydrogens more acidic or influence the basicity of lone pairs. In redox reactions, highly electronegative elements are strong oxidizing agents, readily accepting electrons. In materials science, the electronegativity difference between elements in a compound influences properties like the band gap in semiconductors, crucial for electronic devices. Even in the corrosion resistance of metals, electronegativity plays a role by affecting passive layer formation. These applications highlight its engineering significance. The concept of orbital electronegativity is vital. It states that an atom's electronegativity varies with the type of orbital involved in bonding. For carbon, sp hybridized carbon is more electronegative than sp2, which is more electronegative than sp3 due to the increasing s character and its proximity to the nucleus. This explains the acidity of terminal alkynes and the varying bond strengths. Furthermore, Ben's rule, which describes how s character is distributed in hybrid orbitals, directly links to electronegativity differences, dictating molecular geometry and bond properties. In biological systems, electronegativity drives critical processes like protein folding, where polar interactions stabilize structures, and enzyme activity, where precise electronic environments facilitate catalysis. Even the stability of DNA relies on hydrogen bonding, fundamentally driven by electronegativity differences. Modern computational chemistry, particularly density functional theory, offers a quantum mechanical definition of electronegativity as the negative of the chemical potential. This allows for rigorous calculation and application to complex molecular systems. Related to this is chemical hardness, which measures resistance to electron transfer. High electronegativity and hardness often correlate with chemical stability. The legacy of electronegativity extends across all fields of chemistry, from predicting bond types and molecular geometry to understanding reaction mechanisms, designing new materials, and unraveling the intricacies of biological processes. It's a foundational concept that continues to evolve with scientific advancements, providing a powerful framework for understanding the chemical world. Challenge yourself with the first 5 questions from our hardest level. These problems require a deep understanding of advanced concepts, theoretical connections, and real-world applications of electronegativity. Take your time to analyze each question, recall the detailed information we've covered, and formulate comprehensive answers. This is your chance to shine. Here are the remaining 5 questions for the hardest level. These will further test your ability to synthesize information, apply complex theories, and think critically about electronegativity in various contexts, including materials science and biological systems. Push your limits, and remember that mastering these concepts is key to excelling in competitive exams like GMAT. Congratulations on completing this in-depth exploration of electronegativity. We hope this journey, from easy fundamentals to advanced competitive insights, has enriched your understanding. Remember, consistent practice and a clear conceptual grasp are your keys to success. For more such comprehensive educational content and to supercharge your GMAT preparation, visit synapse.omaps.in. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more amazing chemistry lessons. Keep learning, keep exploring, and keep aiming high.